Spending our last few minutes with Pastor Christopher Thoma. He's pastor of Our Savior Evangelical Lutheran Church in Heartland, Michigan, author of the book The Angel's Portion, A Clergyman's Whisky Narrative. And so, all right, Pastor, now that we got some of that other controversial stuff out of the way, and I know there's some people that's going to just totally disagree with you, and that's okay, but the Angel's Portion. Now, I totally admit, I'm not a whiskey connoisseur. I don't know Jack Daniels. I don't know Jack about whiskey. That's probably not even whiskey. So I don't know anything about it. So you're going to have to kind of walk me through this. But I do know that the Angel's Portion is apparently a phrase referencing the part of whiskey that evaporates or something theoretically up to the angels. Or explain what that means.
Yeah, you got it right. The Angel's Portion, or the Angel's Share, is that a portion of the whiskey that evaporates during the cask process, when it's sitting in the cask and it's finishing off in that way. Some of it soaks into the barrel, some of it evaporates, and so the portion that goes away is the Angel's Portion. Okay, and so explain, if you would, the significance then of the Angel's Portion. I mean, why is what is the focus here, and what is the purpose of that particular part of whiskey? Well, there's really not much you can say about the Angel's Portion, because obviously the divine beings are the ones who get to enjoy it. We don't get to taste it, but I use that term as it connects to the office of pastor, in a sense. And in the introduction of the book, I try to hash that out a little bit, making sure folks know why I say Angel's Portion, because that word in the Greek, angelos, it's a root of that word euangelion, which is the word for the gospel. And essentially, an angel, or angelos, is also a term that's synonymous for pastors. The book of Revelation, the letters go out to the angels, or the pastors of the churches, and they are messengers. So in one sense, it kind of fits for what I'm doing, because I'm a pastor. I'm a messenger. I'm the one who is proclaiming the good news of Christ. Okay, now, when it comes to whiskey, let's go back. I mean, how did you become a quote-unquote connoisseur, if you will, of whiskey? I mean, how far back does this go? Is this before you were a Christian, after you were a Christian? I mean, what's with the interest in whiskey? Well, you call me a connoisseur, and I'm not so pompous to ever say that about myself. Okay. Well, anybody who knows more than I do about whiskey is a connoisseur. So no, but okay. No, I know. I never liked whiskey. I was always a beer drinker. I'm Lutheran. I'm supposed to be a beer drinker, so that's what I was. But I was taking several trips every year over to Russia, and I was teaching over there, taking some high school kids along to teach orphans. And on our trip back, we would stay over in London, and in London I had an opportunity after one of our first trips over to just walk through a whiskey shop while I was there, and the proprietor of that place really reached out to me and did it in a way that was not where he felt like he was trying to sell something to you. He really was trying to convince me that I should try whiskey, because he asked me, "Do you like whiskey?" I said, "No, I'm a beer guy." And he said, "Well, you haven't had the right kind. You've never tried the right kind." And so he took me around the shop and let me try little bits here and there. Oh, he was absolutely correct. Absolutely right. I'd never had the right kind. And I'd tried several of the right kinds while I was there, in just tiny little sips, and beautiful. So I walked out of there having bought my first finer whiskey, and ever since then I've been exploring them and trying different kinds, and have even gone out on a limb to start writing about them, start writing reviews and things like that. Okay, now, here's where I'm really going to sound ignorant, so bear with me, okay? But okay. What is it about whiskey that, I mean, okay, I could see if you're like, oh, this milkshake, whoo, this tastes great, but whiskey, I mean, is it something that it's like, oh, that really has a nice taste to it? Or it seems like, I don't know, I guess it just tells you how clueless I am to the taste, but it's almost like, okay, you take a shot of whiskey, or you take a sip of it, and you're like, whew, okay, that was, whatever, and you get a glass of water or something afterward. What's the pleasurable aspect of drinking whiskey? Well, in the book, what I do, and it's pretty typical of a review, is you break it down although mine are not typical, I should add. I tell stories. I write these in narrative form, so I talk about my kids, or I tell it from the perspective of Darth Vader, or something like that. But really what you can do is you can break a tasting down into three pieces, and one is the nose, the nosing. What does it smell? What do you smell? What are you getting out of it? The next one is the palate. How does it taste? What are you tasting? Pay attention to it, savor it, what are you tasting? And then the finish. Is it something that's long? Does it stick around for a while? Are you getting in the finish what you smelled in the nose and what you tasted in the palate? But now that right away, that sounds very, very highfalutin. The problem I think we run into here in the United States is that most of the whiskeys, maybe, Bob, that you've ever had are ones that you can buy on the shelves at like Meijer or Kroger, and they're not exactly good.
Okay.
If I can say it that way. And the one way to see what I mean, in fact, in the review I do of Scoresby. Scoresby, by the way, is the worst scotch on the planet. So all of the listeners listening, you need to read my article on Scoresby.
All right.
But what you can do is you can take a bottle of Scoresby, not very expensive, $6-7. Pour a little bit of that, tiny little bit, and then do the same with a better bottle. And when I say better bottle, I mean something in the range of $40 or $50. Set that out there. Sip the Scoresby first. You might say, wow, that just tastes bitter, it's horrible. But, it's not bad. Try the better one next, and then go back and try the Scoresby. You'll learn in that circumstance exactly what I'm talking about. The Scoresby will have been bitter, harsh, burning. The next one will be lighter. It won't be so much of a burning sensation. You'll grow into it a little better. And as you get to finer whiskeys, you'll recognize those differences.
Interesting. Well, I tell you, I totally admit I am so out of my element here. I couldn't tell you one difference between a whiskey and another whiskey. But, look, I probably, if you and I ever did this and be like, okay, taste this one, then taste this one, it'd probably be like one of those people on TV, ooh, that's smooth,
Well, there's a chance I can, if you come out to one of the book signings, I'll set it up for you. We'll do that.
We'll have like a little whiskey
bar. Or come to my
bar
home,
set
you
up.
and I will sit and we'll do that.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, no
I'll
problem.
convert you.
No problem. Folks, look for the book. Again, it's entitled The Angel's Portion, A Clergyman's Whiskey Narrative. It's Angel's Portion Publishing. And by the way, Pastor, what's a website for people to go to?
You can just go right to angelsportion.com, all one word, angelsportion.com.
All right.
And like I said, there are some book signings coming up in the area if people want to come out and meet and even debate some of this theological stuff. I'd love to meet folks. I'd love to talk with them. It'd be wonderful to chat.
All right, folks, angelsportion.com. Pastor Christopher Thoma. Pastor, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Oh, you're welcome. God be with you in the day.
Thank you, sir. You too. Take care now. You're listening to The Bob Dutko Show.